Hey guys, Ray from Kinsmen. I wanted to do something a little bit different today. I know that we did somewhat of a rig rundown the last show that we were at, but I wanted to take a minute and just talk about how I came up with the design for my guitar and just give you a little bit of history, maybe tell you some cool stories about other guitars I have in my collection and that I don't really use, but that I think really helped mold me and shape me into the player that I am today. So, first up, these guitars, I've got some of them as early as 8th grade, and they kind of just, they're markers in your life, and I want you to kind of think about guitars as far as markers. Where were you at this point, and what were you listening to, and what really shaped you, so that, if down the line you're looking for a guitar that really defines you, you're able to look at those points and take the very best out of those points and build something that's absolutely just your dream. So, first thing up is my Epiphone Les Paul Custom. And it didn't look like this when I got it. Actually, my dad bet me a guitar that I couldn't play this one song called Classical Gas. And it was a 70s kind of classical guitar song. And I don't know if I surprised him or if he just wanted to push me and see if I pushed through. But I think it was 7th grade. I got this guitar. And since then it's been worked on a lot. It's been gutted completely and just made into a real rocker. Every studio session I've ever done, this guitar has had an appearance. So I really love this guitar. One of my favorite things about this guitar was the single cutaway. I remember when I was in 8th grade, I was listening to a lot of Guns N' Roses and Slash, and he played a Les Paul. So when I saw this one, I was like, oh man, that's my guitar. That's it. I have to have it. And it was really cool. I really like this guitar because of the humbuckers, because of the Bixby. I put a Taurus wiring harness in it, which has the push-pull somewhere. Not really sure. Oh, there it is. So this gives you 2 different options for each tone pot. Pickups or Gibson Classic 57s, a Classic Plus in the bridge, and a Classic in the rhythm. And it also has a roller bridge. So I really like this guitar. I think the neck really shaped a lot of things for me as well. If you know a lot about Les Pauls, especially the customs, they did go through an era where the neck was really, really small, and that's one of these guitars. So really love it. It's definitely still one of my favorite guitars. If anything happened to this, I'd really, really have a bad day. So yeah, that's my Les Paul. So going on to high school, I was in the garage going through my dad's trash basically, and I found this cassette, and it was Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I asked my dad, I was like, who's this guy? And he was like, oh man, you probably like that. And the very first song I heard, it was a cassette tape and it was destroyed, so it was all warbly and just sounded bad. But the very first song was Scuttlebutt, and I really think that changed my life up until probably college, maybe halfway through college. And my parents wanted to live on a ranch, so during my high school stint they started building a house on a ranch, and I worked all summer, and I wanted to get a guitar with the money that I'd earned. I think my dad paid me $5 an hour, so saved up a bunch of money, and I got a Gibson ES 135 and instantly hated it. Instantly had to just, I sold it for probably next to nothing. And since I was listening to a lot of Stevie, I went out and got this. It's a 62 reissue Strat, and got it in San Antonio. And I like black, as you can probably tell, black and blue. But one of the things that really stuck out with me for this guitar was the neck. The neck was just, it was perfection. It's a slim C. Pretty shallow, rosewood fretboard. Everything's stock on it. I've never changed anything other than the string saddles. I changed for a while to some Graph-Tex because I was busting strings, but I went back to these original ones. So I was bottomed out the trim because who needs a trim? But this thing through a Fulton Web, man, that's a single coil sound. That is definitely what I look for. So yeah, what I took from this guitar, I definitely took the neck. I want that shallow C neck. Yeah. So halfway, well, actually not halfway through the first year in college, I wasn't even a music major. I was an engineering major, and I think I was a little bit lost, not knowing whether music was going to be something full time or if it was just going to be something on the side. So my dad really helped me out. He sent me to Berkeley for the summer. I got into the performance program, and it was like a do or die, pass or fail. You either graduate with a certificate or you don't. And when I went, I took my Strat because this thing was just not in good shape at that time. I hadn't upgraded anything yet. But when I was up there, I was introduced to Gretches. And I just loved, I still to this day have a thing for hollow bodies. But man, I wanted a Gretsch so bad. I would go to the Guitar Center in Boston and just play Gretches. And when I came back, kind of made a deal with my dad. And he was like, listen, I'm gonna buy you one last guitar. Pick what you want and I'll buy it for you. He bought me this guitar and he bought me this guitar. And he was like, if you want a guitar, I'll totally buy you a guitar. But this is it. This is the last thing. And my dad's a man of his word. He's never bought me a guitar since. So I asked for a 6120. This was a pre-Fender 6120. And just like the Les Paul, every single studio session I've done, this has always been a huge factor. Gretches are moody and most of the time they don't stay in tune, but it sounds amazing. It just has that really out of tune sound. Just plain, it sounds good. I really love this guitar, but that single coil in the neck, the Filtertron, really just something about the sound really got to me and really stuck with me. And I really, really love this guitar. I played it for a long time. And usually when I'm playing guitars, when I'm going through my little phases, I will put everything else away. So I probably haven't played a Strat live in 10 years plus. This guitar I haven't played that much live. It gets a lot of studio work, but it's just ridiculously heavy, so I can't do that anymore. But definitely, the single coil sound in the neck really had a big influence on me. Actually, both of them together, I really like too. But yeah, this was a big deal because that's still to this day, 20 years later, the last guitar that my dad bought me. So when I was in college, I got the opportunity to do some touring. And I needed a guitar that I wasn't afraid to take out on the road, but that was, a solid, really well-made guitar. And I was noticing some things that I needed, and I got introduced to PRS, and I borrowed a friend of mine's custom 24 for a couple months. Actually recorded some songs with it, really loved it. And the summer tour was coming up. It was winter, and I needed a winter job, so I got a job at Whataburger. And Whataburger paid for my first and only, my first PRS. That was this guy. Got used, which now if you know me, I buy everything used. But it's a 97 McCarty, and me and my buddy Austin pulled off the cover because I wanted to be like David Grissom. And this guitar has done every single major thing that I have ever done up until the last maybe 3 or 4 years. I played in a big band with this guitar throughout college. I just did a ton of sessions, a ton of live work, and I remember one time it fell off a golf cart. It was in a gig bag, and I took it out, and it was still in tune. And I was like, man, PRS is my thing. Like, I love PRS. I thought this was definitely one of the last guitars I would ever buy when I bought it. After that, I bought a McCarty Hollow Body 2. And I had been talking to PRS about maybe doing a guitar because there was another guitar company I was talking with, and I had some ideas. And I was starting to get to a point where I I had a clear vision of what I think I wanted out of a guitar. I wanted that, you know, that contoured top, and I wanted definitely humbuckers, but I wanted it to be hollow, and you know, just a little aesthetic things. And PRS said no to every single one of them. At the time, they were first starting out the private stock, and I told them that I wanted a 7-string hollow body 2 with a piezo, and you know, the bevel and a specific, you know, color and stuff like that, and they said absolutely not. So I was still playing this guy, and I ended up buying a hollow body 2 and really liking it, but not loving it. So, you know, I've sold 2 guitars in my life. One was the ES 135, and one was the hollow body 2. It just, they didn't vibe with me. I kind of miss it because it looked really nice and it was really light. But, you know, this really worked out more for me. So, all that to say, when I was designing my custom guitar with Matt Ardinger, I took everything I wanted from these guitars and really tried to make one specific guitar while doing some new stuff and retain some old stuff. I know I wanted a single cutaway. I know I wanted a really nice bridge humbucker sound. I have really short arms, so you know, I definitely needed a bevel, because I was noticing my arms were getting a little worn and a little hurt playing the PRS. I have some back issues. Actually, I have a lot of back issues. So the hollow or semi-hollow was a big deal for me. So all those things, I really do believe helped shape me into what I wanted out of a guitar. And when I was finally ready for a custom guitar, I think that, you know, my mind was really clear and really just honed in on a specific target, you know. So when I did go with Matt, Matt's a very gracious dude. He didn't say no, but to maybe 2 things. I think there was one ridiculous thing I wanted, and he said no. And the Bigsby, he said, probably not a good idea for this first one. Other than that, it was completely just anything I wanted. The ebony fretboard, you know, from the Les Paul Customs, just, you know, was a big deal for me. I love how smooth they were. I love the shape of the shallow C, the single coil in the neck, the bridge with the humbucker, semi-hollow with the bevel. It has a bevel here and it has a bevel in the back too. And you know, the top, I started off on classical guitar, and I teach classical guitar still, so that was a big deal. I really wanted the headstock, which is just Matt's. I mean, you see this guitar anywhere, and there's only one person in the world that can do this, and it's Matt. And you know, this was just my dream guitar. This was it for me. I think the only upgrades that I'm thinking about getting on my next one are some inlays that are a little bit more reflective on a dark stage. Definitely a Bigsby this time, and maybe some gold foils. Been thinking about gold foils for a while. So, but just as a different voice. This single cutaway humbucking guitar will always be my voice, but just maybe some different flavors of that voice. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. This is how I got to this guy right here. And up next, we're going to take a listen to some amps and then do some playing for you guys. So when I was thinking about amps, I really do think that, you know, you always gravitate towards home and, you know, where you started out from. I think the same thing with the guitars. When a kid asks me, should I start off with a Strat or with a Les Paul, I always tell them, make that decision based on who you're listening to, because you're eventually always going to go home. You know, that's what I've done. You know, starting off with a Les Paul, ended up with something that's very similar to a Les Paul, you know, minor tweaks and stuff like that. And so I think with amps, it started off the same way. When I started playing, my very first gig was with the jazz band in 6th grade, and played jazz from 6th grade all the way through my college career. So it was always about a really thick, fat, clean sound. And especially now, here at 36 years old, I find myself gravitating towards that really thick, clean sound, kind of like a 6L6 Fender-y type clean sound. So I got my first amp, and it was it wasn't very good. It was like a 2-8 combo, and played a bunch of stuff with that, and played in the jazz band. Eventually in high school, I got a Marshall, because I thought everybody needed a Marshall half stack to be heard. So I was playing in a jazz band with Marshall half stack. It was pretty funny. But eventually me and my dad kind of rewired it so that I could play the Marshall head through the 2/8s, and the 2/8s had magnets that were they were giant. There's almost no cone at all, and just wired it to where the head would send it to the 8s, and kind of just get that really woolly but clear sound for jazz. I was playing through my half stack at home, but the directors wouldn't really let me take it on big road trips when the jazz band was traveling. So anything here, I'll play half stack, and anything where we went and competed, I'll play the little combo with the Marshall. But after that, I think there was nothing much going on. I went to a Fender Stage 112 SE, which I still think is one of the best solid state amps Fender has ever made. Actually, one of the best solid state amps I've ever heard. I still have it. I still love it. It's been completely reworked twice by a local music shop, because I carried it around, and I was just like, I love this amp. So played that for a while, and eventually made my way into a Mesa EL84 Maverick. And I saw that at Berkeley. The chair of the guitar department was playing the Maverick in a faculty recital, and I was just like, I have to have that thing. I have to have it. So through a weird turn of events, some friends of mine actually bought me it, and it was a great amp. I loved that amp for a number of years. I remember I got sick and tired of effects, and I was like, I'm only going to play this amp, just straight into the amp, not even a tuner. If I need a tune, I'll unplug. And I remember playing and just having that really nice breakup. I think at one point I added a tube screamer, and it was just like heaven, like just heaven. So yeah, that was a really fun time. It was cool because it really pushed me to move into the direction of my fingers really got to do the work. I really have to be specific with what pickup I'm playing, and if I want anything, I have to kind of make it happen with my hands rather than anything. But yeah, it was a really cool time. I think I forgot to mention one amp. I used to have a Laney half stack. That was my first tube amp. And I remember, everybody talking about tubes, and everybody gets to this point in their life where like, what is it? What's this tube thing? So went out and bought a tube head, and it was 100 watts and 6L6s, and just, it was ridiculous. I don't think I could even carry it by myself. I think I had to have people help me pick it up, from my truck and out of it. But yeah, so it was 6L6s and then EL84s. Now, from then, I gravitated back to the Fender sound. This was right at the end of college. Got an old Bassman combo and really loved it. It was fantastic. No reverb, just turn it up and get your sound. And then I started thinking, about the whole stereo thing and playing stereo and mixing, different types of speakers with different types of amps. And Stevie, of course, was very influential with that because he did the same thing. But there were these two guys, Texas players, that really, I think, helped mold my tone per se. Ian Moore and Chris Duarte. And Chris Duarte, I saw him last month, I think it was, and he's still a monster, and Ian Moore's still a monster too. And I love those guys, and they used to play multiple amps, and I was like, oh man, I should try this multiple amp thing out. So I started playing multiple amps, and then, you know, one thing led to another, and I ended up with, you know, the EL84 Maverick with the Bassman, and the Maverick had 212s and the Bassman had 410s, and that was it. That was like, that was that moment where I was like, this is my sound. The mixture of 10s and 12s mixing in the air, and 6L6s and EL84s, that was just, you know, just huge for me. And, you know, I think everything from then on has been, you know, an experimentation, but I've always made my way back to that. So I put up a picture of my amps on Instagram that was from, man, I think it was 2004, maybe even earlier than that. But I had a Fender Bassman, it was a Tweed Bassman, and my Mesa, and I was just getting into the whole kind of boutique-y world, and these guys came down to play at the Executive Surf Club, which is a local place, and he was playing this amp called a Fulton Webb, and I instantly I've had these points in my life where I'm just like, I need that. I have to have that. That is the sound I'm looking for. And found out as much as I could about Fulton Webb, and, you know, I found these guys at this place called Austin Vintage, and it was Steve Fulton and Bill Webb, and Bill Webb was making the amps, and Steve Fulton was the owner of Austin Vintage, so you get Fulton Webb. And I told him I wanted an amp, and just did everything I had to do to get that amp, and it was crazy. It was man, it was it. And I was still playing the stereo thing, still the Bassman, you know, for a really long time. And I, you know, if you look at my guitars, I kind of strayed a little bit and went to the single coil world for a little while, but I always kind of came back to the humbuckers, you know. And same thing with amps. I tried Bad Cat, and I tried Three Monkeys and a few other things until a local guy sold me a 65 Blackface Bassman, and I thought that was it. And I thought that, you know, my sound was always going to be the Fulton Webb through stereo with the Bassman, and I thought that was it. And maybe 3 years ago, I found out about Two Rock, and when I found out about the prices, I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to own one of these things. That's ridiculous. I couldn't imagine ever spending more than what I had spent on my Fulton Webb, and it was just a no. You know what I mean? But something kept on itching, and I have no idea what it was, but I would go check out videos of Two Rocks, and then a buddy of mine got a couple Two Rocks, and it really perked my interest to the point where I was like, oh man, I really got to check these guys out. So I found a Type 3, which was what I was looking for, because FET is also a really big part of my sound, the FET circuit. So the Type 3 had FET. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get the Type 3. Talked to Steve Kimmock, and he was the nicest person in the world. He was like, yeah, man, it's definitely dual rectified, just monster amp. The Mesa was dual rectified too, and I found that to be really important too. So all these little things ended up, you know, pushing me to try out the Type 3. So tried out the Type 3, and it was just like one of those moments where everything, you know, just aligns. The Fulton Webb with the L84s, the Two Rock with the 6L6s, and everything else has just been kind of off my radar. You know, I check out new amps when they come out. You know, I checked out Blue Dotone and Sebago Sound, and what were the other ones? I don't know. There are a few other guys who are doing doubly type amps. Checked them out, but you know, for the first time in a long time, probably in my life, I have this sound that I am completely content with. And I have a big rig with 412s and 410s. They're matchless cabs. And then I have a smaller rig with 212s and 210s. And I feel like that's it. Like, why do I need anything else? This is my sound. This is my unique voice that I'm completely happy with, and that I hear all the things I want to hear with. And you know, I can get all those sounds without any pedals, without any effects. You know, everything's just there to start with. So everything else I put on top as far as effects, it's just icing on the cake. So we're gonna take a listen to that right now, but yeah, let's check that out. Okay, so we are here in the band rehearsal facility where we can play loud and have fun. Got my guitar. I'm gonna go through my pedal chain just really quick. I go into a line 6 G50. From there we go into a Keeley Katana. From there we go into a Fulton Clyde wah. From there we go all the way back over here to the Cali 76, which is the TXP that has the boost and also the dry level mix. From the Cali we go into the Zen Drive. From the Zen Drive we go into a reverb. From the reverb we go into the Deco to Timeline to Rotosim to Layla, and Layla out to my 2 amps. So 2-Rock Type 3 with 410s. I'm miking it with SM7 and 57, and they're both placed in their respectable places. And then the Fulton Webb custom 31 watt into 412s with a Sterling ST55 and an SM57. So let me just give you the clean sound of each one. I pan them each in different directions so that you can hear in your, if you're facing your computer, this speaker, you're gonna hear the 2-Rock. This speaker over here, you're gonna hear more of the Fulton Webb. So let me give you a 2-Rock real quick. This is the 2-Rock. All right, and then this is going to be the Fulton Webb. All right, so as you can hear, I have a little bit of reverb on both of them, and I'm also running the Katana just for that little bit of FET boost to both of them. And here they go together. So I have nothing on except a little reverb just to weten things up. They're both Class A, so there's no reverb anywhere in the circuit. This one's running nice, fat, clean sound. This guy's running just a little bit of hair, as you guys have heard. All right, so no reason to listen to the Katana or the reverberator by themselves. You know what they both sound like. They're contributing to just my clean sound. This is what I would label as my clean sound. Now, the more I dig in, the more you can hear the Fulton Webb breakup. Yeah. So after that, let's see here. We're going to a Cali. The Cali, really great compressor. It works. It's on most of the time, but I have a lot of dry signal built into it, or just EQ'd into it. So here's the sound of the Cali. You just hear like a ton of sustain coming, and when you're playing, you know, just hold for days. I really love that there's a nice, complex, clean sound that's going on. It doesn't matter what kind of chord I hit. You can hear all of the different notes, and that's really important when you're playing the minor ninths, the suspensions, the major sevenths and minor sevenths. It's all important. So I'll just play a couple of those complex chords for you. Now that has a boost on it. I don't usually use a boost unless I absolutely need it. But from there we go on to the Zen drive, and the Zen drive is very woolly, and we'll get into the reason for that. But I'll show you the way it sounds with it. So it's woolly, it's dark, but I have it set that way for a reason. It's only for lead sounds. All right, so you're not going to hear me just chugging and chording with that. In addition, I usually do have the Cali on, so let's listen to it with the Cali and with the Zen drive. So you get a lot of that natural feedback that's going on, and you also get a lot of those harmonics without any delay, without any need for any of the timing effects. And I really, really like that, especially when you do add the timing effects, which I'll show you guys. But first, let's check out the deco. The deco is kind of like my secret weapon, and the way that I use it is in the double tracker mode for that wash. So let's check out that. You'll really be able to hear the stereo spread with this. So you hear a lot of that just wash, and that to me is a beautiful sound. Couple that with the Cali, and you get this just beautiful, beautiful wash. I'll show it to you right now. It's the Cali and the deco. So, really love that sound. Let's just leave the Cali on, because from here on out I use it all the time mostly, except with one effect. I do turn it off for that one effect, and you'll see why. Now for my my first drive section, I only have 2 drive sections, the deco and then the Zen drive. And the deco is my rhythm sound because of the saturation. So let me show you the deco by itself. That's a lot of drive. That's way enough for me. And it really maintains the integrity of each note, which I'm really specific with notes, really specific with chords. So I need that clarity. So this is my rhythm tone. So that's my dirty sound when I'm playing most of the time. Now with that, I usually have a smidge of delay on. You know, it's a short delay. It's not crazy. So it decays really fast. The only 2 delays I use are that short one and then a long one, but the long one has less repeats. So it just disappears after one. And the reason I do that is because when I'm soloing, I don't want my notes to get muddled up with the trails, you know what I'm saying? So say I'm playing a song, most of the time I have the deco on for a little bit of drive, and I hit a solo, I'm going to be using the Zen drive just as a boost on top of the deco. So I'm going to show you what it all sounds like. This is my solo tone. You know, the feedback comes in quite a bit, and I like that. That's with the short delays. Let me give you the long delays on top of that. And it'll just hold for days, you know, which I really like. I like that type of sound for my solos, you know, and it cuts through just enough, but it's also kind of woolly, and you know, I like that. So last effect is the Roto Sim, and it's a rotating speaker simulator. I'll show you how it sounds, but with the Cali on, it kind of doesn't work well. So whenever I'm going to use it, I'm going to turn off the Cali and use it without the Cali. So let's listen to what it sounds like. There's 2 modes, slow and fast. This is slow. So you can hear that there's a little hair on that. It does have a gain control. So I'll turn the gain control off because I usually use it without the gain control. So you hear that really just kind of swirly thing going on between the 2 amps. And when you speed it up, you hear the same thing. So let me show you a chord with it. That's always been a long time favorite sound of mine, the rotating speaker. So it's kind of like just something that I have on there to throw in every once in a while. I don't use it a lot, but I do love the sound of it. It just, you know. I really love that sound. That's one of my favorite sounds. So that is my pedal board. That's all I use when I'm playing at any given time. You know, definitely the secret weapons on the board are the Katana and the Cali. I really love both those pedals. Most of the time they're on all the time. Layla, you know, just what it does is it splits it, but I can really control whether it goes to my tuner or whether it goes to 1 amp or both amps, and that really helps out a lot. It's really clean. I did notice when I was using just run-of-the-mill splitters that my tone was suffering, and that there was just some phase issues, and all that's controlled within the Layla. You know, I was having a conversation yesterday about sound, and I really do believe that it comes down to the little things. So if you take care of the little things, then the big picture of your sound is going to be taken care of. Speaking of one last little thing, some of you guys may hate me for this, but I do swear by blue chip picks. These things sound different and they last a lot longer. If you can take care of your pick and not lose a pick, I seriously suggest checking these out. They sound really cool, and I really like them a lot. There's definitely a difference. Whether you like the difference or not, that's up to your interpretation, but there's definitely a difference between this and all the other picks I've been using for all these years. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, or if you want to you know, explain anything that I didn't explain, hit me up. These videos are for you guys. These videos are to develop community between guitar players and the Christian world, and just to lift you guys up. So any way we can help you, that's what we're here for, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.